The 34th Ordinary Session of the African Union Assembly was largely virtual thanks to COVID-19 pandemic that has paralyzed movement across the world. President Paul Kagame on Saturday joined other African leaders for this very African Union Assembly, where he presented a report on the institutional reform of the African Union.
We have come a long way, including on the most complex elements, such as the merit-based and the transparent selection of the Commission leadership. There has also been good progress on the sustainable financing of the Union and the Peace Fund, though our program budget is still too dependent on external funding. This momentum has helped to deliver historic achievements such as the Continental Free Trade Area. I commend Chairperson Moussa Faki and the Commission for the exemplary work over the past 4 years, not forgetting the indispensable support of the PRC and Executive Council.
The head of state also presented an update on domestic health financing. President Kagame noted that without strong national health systems in every country, the African continent will remain vulnerable to pandemics such as COVID-19.
Excellencies, I would like to take this opportunity to emphasize the importance of our domestic health financing agenda, particularly in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. Without strong national health systems in every country, our continent will remain vulnerable to pandemics. We need to strengthen our commitment to increase domestic resource mobilization and improve health outcomes. I also urge the strengthening of African CDC to allow its autonomy and effectiveness.
During the 34th Ordinary Session of the African Union Assembly, Rwanda's Monique Nsanzabaganwa was elected as the Deputy Chairperson of the African Union Commission with 42 votes from 55 member states. Nsanzabaganwa has been the Deputy Governor of Rwanda's Central Bank. During this session, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa handed over the chairmanship of the African Union to his counterpart from the Democratic Republic of Congo, President Felix Tshisekedi. Meanwhile, the incumbent Moussa Faki Mahamat was also re-elected as the chairperson of the African Union Commission. Rwandan youth have been urged to embrace the courage of heroism so that they help the country attain its development aspirations. The call was made during a discussion that involved young Rwandans living in countries with democratic ties with Rwanda through its embassy in Senegal. This was also Heroes Day that marked by the Rwandan diaspora in those countries. We have this report.
A hero?
The discussions brought together Rwandan nationals and friends of Rwanda living in Senegal, Mali, Gambia, Cape Verde and Guinea-Bissau. It was noted that those in the diaspora there, just like Rwandans living here in the country, wanted to mark Heroes Day and celebrate the achievements of those who sacrificed so much for Rwanda. Heroes Day is an important occasion to our country, and it is our obligation to celebrate our heroes, and so we must always remember their sacrifices so that we may live as we do today. Rwanda is secure and united, developing every day in the country that has found its value, respected internationally, as we see from day to day in these countries we live in. The young people participating in the discussions were urged to play their part in helping to develop the country, with examples of how centuries ago, even without a standing army, what used to be the Kingdom of Rwanda was still able to expand its borders thanks to the sacrifices of heroic individuals. We should be able to meet our own food production needs, have a striving textile industry, and even during pandemics like this of COVID, we should have the capacity to make our own vaccines and medicine. That is a big task facing today's youth, and we must also protect our country so that it is vulnerable to no one. That is a task that is ongoing, very important work, and I honestly cannot understand why anyone would sleep on this, with the magnitude of the work we have on our hands. The youth engaged in the discussions vowed not to let the opportunities they have slip by. As a young person, you may deceive yourself that the time for heroism has passed and that you can just sit back, but nothing could be further from the truth. Some young people have proved very patriotic, working hard not just for themselves but for the country because they are proud to be Rwandan. There is still much we must do for our country, and it should make us think about how we are going to leave our mark, emulating those who came before us. What can we do for such heroism to be known across all of Africa and to become an example for future generations? I believe I can write a book about what was done, and I got that idea thanks to these discussions. Those who are part of Rwanda's army during the bad leadership that plunged the country into its darkest time in history, now referred to as ex-FAR, people like Innocent Rwabigabo, who has been living in Senegal, visited Rwanda back in 2011, also gave his input in the discussions and had this to say. Over the many years I spent as a refugee, having fled part of the ex-FAR, our dignity suffered because foreigners mistreated us and we had no true leadership of our own. We had no one to listen to our problems. In 2011, I visited Rwanda as part of the Come and See initiative, coming from Senegal. I visited my friends and family and many parts of the country, feeling completely secure and at peace. I saw for myself how peaceful my country had become and was even given a national ID and Rwandan passport. I felt that the dignity that I had lost as a Rwandan had been given back to me. I can now travel to any other country I want as a Rwandan national, and the advice I give you is to first love your country, using your intellect to make the proper decisions. Listen to the counsel of your heart, because we all know the difference between good and bad. Rwandan government officials participating in the discussions also reminded young people that the legacy left by the heroes of the past is not something to take lightly. Accepting that legacy of heroism means refusing to vanish without leaving your mark. If the heroes of the past, the RPF in Hotini, gave you this country, then you too must make your mark and show what you can contribute. Without a doubt, a lot has been done over the last 27 years, but one cannot help but notice what is yet to be achieved. The time has come to ask yourself, wherever you may be, in Senegal, Rwanda, or elsewhere, what can I do to continue playing my part in nation building? That is the attitude we should all adopt and the exercise we should engage in. Veteran politicians who are part of the struggle to liberate Rwanda, like Tito Rutaremara, have also urged young people to engage in the country's developmental efforts. Young people should get up and work. Let the student do well in their studies. The carpenter strive to become the best there is, and the ICT expert become an innovator, looking to the technological achievements of countries like the US for inspiration. That is heroism, and it applies to young Rwandans in Rwanda and beyond. It is true that we now have our own country, but we must use the opportunities science and technology have presented to speed up our own development pace and catch up with everybody else, and then our value will truly be realized. The occasion to mark Heroes Day in the 5 countries which Rwanda's embassy in Senegal overseas diplomatic ties was held virtually.
A cross-section of people that seek medical services in various hospitals have expressed concerns that those seeking to do a COVID-19 test are received in the same place as those that have come for other services, citing that this poses a risk of spreading the pandemic more. According to Rwanda Biomedical Center, instructions for distinguishing between those who go for COVID-19 testing and those treated for other diseases were issued and must be complied with.
At Masaka Health Center in the Masaka sector of Kichijiro district, many residents that have come to treat various ailments are seen waiting in lines this morning. Among these include those that have come to test for COVID-19. I started feeling nauseated and dizzy with body aches while I was at work. So I came to the hospital to see a doctor, but I found many people. We were seated with no social distance. It's possible for someone to breathe close to other or even get in contact with them. Due to the large number of people that seek services from this health center, Kuzeyimwene Anastase at Masaka Health Center says they are also concerned about the risk of infections. If this continues, the risk is big because some people can get infected, but we are also doing everything possible to see that they are not received at the same place. But it requires for us to be present all the time. But we continue to explain the need to practice social distancing. Health center administrators say that hospitals and health centers need to put in place ways to differentiate those who come for COVID-19 tests and those that come to seek other services. Where those suspected to have COVID-19 are tested from separately, but they use the same hallways with others, which means it's possible that if an infected person and those who aren't infected cross paths, there is a risk of spreading it. The space where our hospital is built is small and the building is small. We ask a special place, perhaps a tent, is set up differently so that those that are suspected of having the virus are worked on separately. On the other hand, some of the health centers in Kigali City say they have put in place measures to prevent those that have come to test for COVID-19 from convening in the same place with those seeking other services. We have a person responsible to allocate the people differently according to what service they want. If someone has the symptoms and those that have come to voluntarily test are received separately and directed to where they are supposed to test from and given services so that they go home early. The Rwanda Biomedical Center officials say that the issue had been addressed and the measures should be put in place. Instructions have been given to ensure that the patient who goes to the hospital with COVID-19 symptoms do not come near others who have come to other treatments so that there would be no spreading among them, how to sit before meeting a doctor, and there should be a distance. For those being suspected for having COVID-19 should be given a special care so that they won't meet other patients. Health centers are accredited to test COVID-19. This was done to recognize the new cases early. It's almost a year since COVID-19 was first detected in Rwanda. More than 16,000 cases have been recorded, with more than 11,000 recoveries and 210 deaths so far.
In Ngororero district, 27 families of historically marginalized communities living in Muhanda sector in Ngororero district have been accusing Rubaya Tea Factory of taking over their land for tea growing have finally admitted to have instead sold the land and acknowledged that they are ready to transfer land rights to the factory.
Not long ago, some of these people had represented their colleagues, indicating that they had never sold land to Rubaya Tea Factory. They say we sold. They should bring the agreement to that effect. Give us some little money to use as we wait for tea to grow. However, Jean Mutabazi, the CEO of Rubaya Tea Factory, said that there had been a buy-in between him and the landowners and that there was evidence to that effect. We have evidence to the buy-in. This land issue in Muhanda sector has since attracted various administrative organs. Both parties presented their evidence between local government administration for settlement. During a discussion with the leaders, they presented agreement papers confirming that we sold the land. The money indicated on the paper is exactly what I received. But the issue I have is that all the witnesses are the same people who are working with the factory. Well, I have to accept it and move on. The agreement shows that we sold our plot and received money, which is indeed true. Initially, we thought there was a collective project being undertaken. We did not know it was permanent land transfer. will therefore transfer the land to the new owner. Meanwhile, the owners of Rubaya Nyabihu Tea Factory have welcomed the ruling in their favor. Their argument sent an impression as if to say they did not sell the land, but you all are witnesses, and you saw that they admitted to have sold the land, and now they are going to follow legal provisions to transfer land permanently. We are happy with the decision taken. Ngororero District Administration, which acted as the mediator between two parties, acknowledged that this long-standing land wrangle had threatened to cause chaos in the area. This was a very concerning issue because several people claim to have been victimized. The reason it took long to be resolved is due to the fact that some party had buy-in agreement. We had to examine those papers before solving the issue. All parties have acknowledged the buy-in agreement and believe it brings us to the end of the issue. The land in question is located in Gatomvu village, Bugarura Cell, Mohanda sector in Ngororero district. RBA could not ascertain the size of this piece of land and the amount to which it was sold.
That's all I had from me and the entire news team. I'm Ethan Tashubia. Bye for now.